Guys, what's up? This is Mel, and I'm here to talk about the originals, episode 407, titled High Water and a Devil's Daughter, which premiered Friday, May 5th, 2017 on the CW. I'm recording on May 8th, so it's been a few days since episode premiered, so huge spoiler alert, guys. If you haven't seen the episode already, go do so first, then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Otherwise, my other video spoiler alerts reminders are up on screen. Take a moment to read over those. And with that all said and done, let's start with the 10-minute clock and let's begin with what happened in this episode. So timeline-wise, I'm thinking it's the next day after the events of 406. It seems like everything is still pretty much picking up. It's not like a few days have passed and everything's cooled down and now they're starting to pick things up. It seems like they're still going off the steam that they collected in the previous episode. So storyline wise though, I did count 3 different storylines going on in this episode in particular. First one being the reconnecting to the ancestors, second one being the finding of the bone fragments, and the third one being the confinement within the compound itself. All of them are again connected to each other, especially number 2 and number 3. But let's start with what happened in the first storyline. So we get this one deals with Elijah and Vincent mostly for this reconnecting with the ancestors. So we get Elijah sacrificing 4 girls for an unsanctioned harvest ritual, which not only does Vincent disprove of because of the fact that Elijah just killed these young girls, but the fact that it wasn't done in a proper way that would allow for the girls to be revived through the ritual. So anyways, Vincent improvises and he calls upon Davina's spirit to accept the harvest sacrifices since she is technically an ancestor. Davina once she does accept the sacrifices and revives the harvest girls, the new harvest girls, Davina is now made the key ancestor who has all the power flowing through her back to the witches of the French Quarter and then up through the other ancestors. That's my understanding of it, the fact that she's kind of like the middleman now. In order to get to one end, you got to go through her to get to the other end type thing. Second storyline with the bone fragments deals mostly with Freya getting help from Joshua as she traps Dominic and interrogates him about where the 4 fragment pieces are. We find out that there were 4 bloodlines that were tasked to protecting the fragments since ancient times, but he calls that irrelevant nowadays. So there's that. Haley's family was one of them. We later find out that the one bloodline that Dominic mentioned, their most recent descendant that Freya was able to find was Tyler Lockwood, who they mentioned has been dead by suspicious means a few years ago, as we know happened in season 8 of the Vampire Diaries when it had to deal with the 3-year time jump and stuff like that. So there is that. Now the third storyline deals with the confinement within the compound, and that deals with Hope, Klaus, Haley, and Marcel. Marcel is still being in the dungeon. Now, in the little confinement over their protection, Hope meets and bonds with Marcel in the dungeon. Marcel confesses that it's hard to hate Klaus, who is also the very man who raised him to be who he is. And then when Dominic and his followers attack the compound, mainly going for Klaus and Haley, Hope releases Marcel from his prison, and in return he protects her from the followers and gets her out of there. So there is that. Eventually that leads to a possible truce coming between Klaus and Marcel, but I'll get to that in a brief moment though. But also during his compound confinement, Klaus is very on edge. Every moment he spends locked up inside what is essentially his home, he is reliving his time in the dungeon, being stuck in that prison for 5 years. So he shares a bit of that with Haley in that sense. Last scene of the episode shows the Hollow seems to take on the form of a girl. She actually takes possession of Sophia after she feels the return of the ancestors being connected to the witches. So there is that. You kind of seem before she's kind of take on this misty look, or she's within the smoke, and this time we actually got to see her in the shape of a girl. Don't know how young she is, but she's definitely a lot younger than any of the Michelsons or of Sophia. She could be Hope's age. She could be a little older, maybe like a preteen or something, but that's as far as you can see. Tidbit wise, though, we actually get a confession between Freya and Keelan that about their connection to each other that leads to them kissing each other. So there was that. Also, you get Joshua unwillingly helping Freya lure Dominic out as he plays the bait by pretending to be Marcel, and that is done through Freya putting a spell on Joshua so that he looks the part. Also, as I mentioned, Klaus tries to make a truce with Marcel to fight together against the Hollow instead of separate, since the Hollow wants both of them dead. And because of the way that Marcel protected Hope, Klaus is willing to kind of give him another chance from the looks of it. So there's that. And also we see Klaus killing Dominic by beheading him and ripping out his heart, or at least spearing him for sure. So there's that. What was the most shocking moment of the episode? I think the fact that the Hollow can possess a body. I think I was under the impression that the Hollow was already doing that, or was controlling people at some point. In a sense, then again, my influences from other TV shows could be shaping that viewpoint. But to actually see the Hollow take possession of Sophia, who is at least a 500-year-old vampire, kind of shows that no one's really safe. She could be possibly possessing more people at any given time if she wanted to. So that was surprising on that part for me. It also does kind of remind me of the whole body hopping thing that the Michelsons were doing in season 2, especially with Finn and Cole jumping into Vincent and Caleb's body, and then with Rebecca and Ava's body, and then Esther going into a few bodies like that. It's kind of reminding me of that. Or when Klaus jumped into Lark's body back over in season 2 of the Vampire Diaries. So there is that. Moving on though to top 3 favorite moments, I definitely, for one thing, I like how they connected Tyler Lockwood to the bone fragment part of the mythology. We don't know if it's specifically the werewolf bloodlines that are being side protectors for these bone fragments, but I really like how they connect it to his family. I really like that is the very reason they're setting up for the visit to Mystic Falls, which is set for the next episode. So I really like that. It also gives us a chance to figure out what happened with Tyler after he had left Mystic Falls at the end of season 6 in the Vampire Diaries. So it's just, I really like any moment like that where we can get insight into the original series. So I shouldn't say the originals considering what show this is, but you know what I mean. Anyways, another favorite moment of mine has to be Hope bonding with Marcel. It was great to see her insight on him. It was great to see what he confided in her about it. It also made me a little question whether or not if he's actually telling the truth to her, or if he's just saying things to get her to trust him. So I was a little wary about that though. But if he is telling her the truth though, then that makes me love their bonding a lot more, because of the fact that they can bond over the fact that they are both children of Klaus, even though not both by blood, but essentially taken in by the same man, and yet getting different results from it. So there is that. Another favorite of mine has to be Freya and Keelan, the confession between each other. I totally called it. I could see it building the moment those two met, but it was great to see that instead of, even though Freya wanted to push her away because Keelan was a weakness to her, a vulnerability, she was going to accept it, but she wasn't going to do it without saying her piece first and saying what she needed to say. And then that is what Freya got to flip on the dime, I guess you could say, or flip her way of thinking, or her decision on abandoning this friend of hers, possibly the first friend she's had outside the family. So I really liked that something finally came out of this build-up between them. Now, top 3 peed moments. I did have 3 though. First one was the fact that Elijah sacrificed those 4 girls to recreate the Harvest Festival. What I did not like about it was the fact that I always thought that Elijah was against harming children. Or is that just Marcel's own code that he deals with? I always thought that Elijah was like that as well. I swear I could remember from when Elijah meets Davina for the first time in episode 105, I believe, he purposely doesn't make a move against her, even though she's offering him his blood, because of the fact that she's still a child in his eyes. So, and yet here he is sacrificing 4 girls. I get where his desperation comes from, but it really bugged me that if Elijah was the type of man or a vampire even to have children off limits, and yet he's doing the complete opposite. It seemed way out of his character, though. So that was a little peevish for me, unless that is an after effect of other things that have happened to him, like Esther pulling down the red door, or him being confined in the Chambre de Chat for 5 years, or stuff like that. So there's that. Another peeve of mine was the fact that Freya survived her heart stopping by Dominic. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that she's alive, but that makes no sense. When Dominic was able to incapacitate Freya, there's a timer, and managed to stop her heart, he needed her heart to stop in order for the boundary spell around the compound to break. And yet, okay, that makes sense. Completely makes sense, though. But by the time that Keelan gets to the pub and then finds out about Joshua leaving Freya with Dominic, and then by the time Keelan gets to the warehouse apartment and sees Freya on the floor, apparently with her heart not beating, that is too long of a time for Freya's heart to have stopped. Isn't there like only a certain amount of minutes you could survive without, not survive, but like, isn't after a certain amount of time when there's no oxygen to the brain, does the brain become brain dead? And then even if you start the heart pumping again, then it's no point because the brain's going to be dead. So it makes absolutely no sense to me how Freya was able to technically survive having her heart stopped without no repercussions to her brain whatsoever. I mean, it would have been more believable for me if by the time Keelan found Freya, she was able to get her heart pumping again, though, but Freya would not have been able to wake up. Her brain would have been brain dead at some point because she had gone too far along without any oxygen to the brain. So that was my whole issue there, was the fact that it's too much like a coincidence that Freya just happened to get her heart stopped long enough for Dominic to get out of the way, and then moments later Keelan runs in and starts running in as if she was always in the next room beside them, waiting for the moment for her to come in and revive her friend. I mean, it made no sense. So that's why it really pissed me off there. It suspended reality in a sense, I guess, if that makes sense. Another peeve of mine, let's move on, is the fact that Hope was a little cocky with her magical abilities. I mean, when Marcel was telling her that, like, it's too dangerous, she can't go in, and she's like, I can protect myself, I'm a Michelson witch, it's like, I'm capable of doing this. And I kept, like, going, like, no. I mean, you're only 7, you shouldn't be this cocky about your own powers. I could get if she was a teenager, and then she's, like, cocky about her abilities, and okay, I could see it because it's teenage rebellion and them feeling like they're top of the world of everything, though. But like, here's a little girl who's not allowed to practice her magic, or who has her magic out of control, and yet she thinks she's capable of protecting herself with it when she can barely keep it stable in a sense. So it's like it really annoyed me for sure. It really showed that she really was a kid. And that just really pissed me off, since so far up to that point, she's always come off as a very mature kid. If that really makes sense. Unless that's a pointless peeve for me, but there's that. Moving on, though, what will I remember most when I look back on this episode? The fact that Hope could have really changed the game between Klaus and Marcel. Just the fact that Hope calls Marcel her friend. It does something to Klaus. Maybe it's what has him considering to align with Marcel to better their odds of survival. Maybe it allows Marcel to see Klaus in slightly differently, since he is seeing how Hope is, or how her Hope sees Klaus and stuff. I don't know. It was an interesting dynamic change for that. Moving on, though, to random questions. First question was that, were the protectors of the bone fragrance meant to keep them protected from other people, or were they meant to keep them separated so that the Hollow couldn't get them? I mean, were these protectors meant to be working for the Hollow or against the Hollow? Are they friend or foe to us, essentially? Next question. Is Sophia awake during her possession by the Hollow, or is she just asleep and the Hollow is just taking over and in control of that? I'm kind of trying to think of it like a demon possession from Supernatural, or possibly like the Traveler possession from the Vampire Diaries. But I guess we'll have to wait and see just what type of version of possession we're going to be dealing with. Next question is the fact that, how much does Hope truly know about the supernatural world? She knows that she's a Michelson witch. She knows her father is the strongest creature in the world. She knows about werewolves from the looks of it. She knows about vampires, since Klaus joked about the fact that her uncle Elijah sleeps upside down like bats in the attic. So I'm wondering how much she actually knows about the supernatural world, and then how much was sugar-coated for her. So there's that. Last question. I wonder if Hope has the same crescent birthmark that Haley has on her shoulder. They made it very apparent when Haley was getting into bed to have her shoulder bare to reveal the crescent moon mark that she was so hell-bent on hiding in season 1. Now I'm wondering if Hope has the same birthmark either in the same place or if it's somewhere else on her body. Because she is technically still part of the Crescent Wolf pack. So there's that. Now moving on though to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 408, we get the return of Davina and Alaric. And it also seems that Davina comes back and claims that the Hollow's weakness is Haley or connected to Haley. Surprise right there though. But synopsis for the episode reads that after being summoned by the ancestors, Haley and Klaus travel to the ancestral world and come face to face with Davina, Klaus's former foe and the one person who holds the secrets to the Hollow's demise. Meanwhile, old wounds are reopened when Elijah and Marcel are forced into an uneasy alliance. Together they meet with Alaric, who has tracked down a crucial artifact that could help in their fight against the Hollow. So, I'm excited about this crossover event. Not only do we get to see the return of Alaric Saltzman, but also we get to see the return of Davina, who has been dead since last season. So, there is that. I'm hoping with this crossover, though, that through Alaric, he can give us an update as to what has happened since the series finale of The Vampire Diaries. Like, the time between when they found peace in the city and to the time that Damon and Elena found their afterlife ever after endgame type thing. We already know how they end up after their long life together. I want to know about the middle part. Like how the twins are doing, how's Caroline doing, what were Elena and Damon up to before they found their happy afterlife together, as well as what, like, those little tidbits, or what about Jeremy, or what about the boarding school and stuff like that. I really want to know, and Alaric can do that for me. Also with the crucial artifact that Alaric could help them, that's definitely coming from the armory, but I'm wondering if that's connected to the bone fragments, or it's a weapon that needs to use the bone fragments together to create it, to activate it, or something like that. So I'm definitely excited for Alaric's return, for sure. And also, I'm excited to see what Davina has to say about more about the Hollow, who they are, maybe like what their identity is, and just why Haley is connected to them. I really hope it's not her mom, because that would have been it better not be, or it better not be one of Haley's, like, ancestors, like Silas was an ancestor of Stefan and Damon, so it's just, I guess we have to wait and see about that, though. But that's what it, guys. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about what you think is going to happen next. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place, so go check that out. Also, if you want to check out my WordPress account, the link for that is down below. Everything I post online is connected through that. It's a work in progress, but it's a lot more organized, so please go check that out. And also, if you want a play-by-play recap of the episode, including my in-moments thoughts and theories as I watch the episode for the first time, check out my Livejournal entry. The link for that is down below. It does help keep things in order for me, as well as keep tracks of certain quotes or certain scenes. Hopefully it'll help you guys out too, but I hope you check it out. You don't have to, though, but it'd be nice. Otherwise, though, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your patience. I hope you come back next week to hear what I have to say about the crossover episode. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.